Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the launch of the International Business Network called the Inner Cycle. On behalf of the Inner Cycle International Business Network, I would like to welcome you. Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather here at Inner Cycle. That's the name of the venue. Don't confuse it with the event itself. It's called the Inner Cycle International Business Network. You're welcome. My guest tonight is Mr. Abner Mosaase. He's an international relations expert. He's been exposed to a number of international markets, the US, Middle East, China, and just recently, he just came back to South Africa. He's been helping out in Botswana. So he is an expert who's going to be unpacking the BRICS outcomes, or the expanded BRICS alliance, which recently took place in Russia in Kazan. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just share a little bit about the event itself. This is more than a gathering, more than just a gathering. It marks the beginning of a journey. It marks the beginning of a journey designed to connect high-level business individuals, to connect government, experts, regulators, traders, and development finance institutions. At the Inner Cycle International Business Network, our mission is very clear. Is to empower businesses by bridging continents, facilitating partnerships, and driving growth through shared success stories and actionable insights. By leveraging powerful networks spanning Africa, Latin America, North America, the BRICS Plus Alliance, we are creating a truly international platform. As you know, we are now, as South Africa, members of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is the largest customs region in the world with 52 countries. We are also members of the BRICS Plus, which is made up of resource-rich countries, interestingly. Now, the question is, how do we take advantages of opportunities that are being presented by these two trading alliances or agreements? But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Abner Mosaase will be unpacking some of the outcomes from the BRICS summit that took place in Russia. He will also touch on the implications of the de-dollarization and probably touch on the outcome of the US elections and the implications of the US, outcome of the US, particularly in terms of the foreign policy of the US. I am now going to hand over to Mr. Abner Mosaase.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dennis Mangani. My name is Abner Mosaase, as is indicated. I gave him my long speech, and he will share some of the notes with you. So I gave him the declaration of the BRICS Summit in Kazan. The reason I did not want to indulge you in that is because I don't believe in worrying people at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, especially if you are told that this is a business networking session. And when something is coined in that manner, so some of us come from a charismatic Pentecostal background. We just want to speak to people and speak from the heart. With people, but we speak at people. So we want to engage so that when we leave here, you know that there was value in this particular network session. Let me thank the opportunity brought here to indulge you in a number of issues in geopolitics. So I was telling Dennis, no, don't be afraid when you call it geopolitics. Even if it's business, it's still geopolitics. So that's how it is done. And thank you for taking a valuable time away from your families, from your other important meetings to support this initiative, the Inner Cycle. It's an Inner Cycle. This, I can assure you, is better than watching a show called Riatsoteni on Mojaba. So we came from Kazan, where a conglomeration of countries met to map a way forward in terms of what is called regional, social, economic, and political alliance. So this is the new world order, become a very formidable organization in the world. Formidable because the world has transcended from being a unipolar world, which was dominated by US interests and Western interests. In the 80s, in the Cold War period, all the way from the 40s, 50s, 60s, the world was bipolar. And not that the world was crazy, but the world was bipolar because it was dominated by two powers, which is the Soviet Union, which with its military alliance called the Warsaw Pact, and the Western Alliance with its military alliance called NATO. So in or what is called realism, where the two worlds checked and balanced each other. And we ushered in a new dispensation of a unipolar world, which a scientist, political scientist called Fukuyama, calls the end of history. The United States became a unipolar. It McDonaldized the world. It dollarized the world. It Coca-Cola'ized the world. So that's, it dominated all levers of society, including economic diplomacy, public diplomacy, and cultural diplomacy. Basically, what we had was the US hegemony in the world. Over time, the things have changed. The world has become multipolar. Multipolar because China has emerged as a significant competitor to US interests. That's why the United States of America no longer speak about human rights abuses in China. Because the USA as a country owes China a lot of money. China controls the highest number of US treasury bills. China owns United States companies, every single one of them. The technology of the world is dominated by China, hence the tech war, which predicated COVID-19 from Hunan city, Hubei province, to the whole world. Because the United States of America was displaced Huawei as a dominant technology in the world, replacing it with Ericsson or iPhone. But iPhone could not make the cut because it is not an infrastructure. It is a gadget. So China then dominated the spaces. It created many allies in the world. Many countries, including those that were under sanctions, took what is called the Look East policy, which had China as their main important partner. So BRICS becomes important because it is a country inside it, such as China. But there is also India, which, according to statistics, it is now having more people than China. China used to be the one with the highest population of 1.3 billion 10 years ago. Now, India is the highest population in the world, followed by China. But there's also strong economy, strong army, and everything. Then there is Russia. So when there was a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the United States of America imposed unilateral sanctions on Russia. That now changed the outlook of the world, because Russia is a strong country, very measurable to the USA itself, both militarily, socially, and economically. It can withstand the United States of America. So by sanctioning another superpower, it means the balance of power in the world changes. So Russia had to then introduce in the system of the BRICS the idea that the world must de-dollarize. The world must de-McDonaldize, de-Coke-alize, and all that. Because there is a new opportunity that there are new players economically in the world. So I chair, or let me say I'm a convener of BRICS Political Party Dialogue. That's why my input moves from the politics to. And one of the things that have hamstrung the developments in the world, people tend to mix business with economics. They're not the same. Economics is policy, business is a practice. So we came to a declaration that says the world will no longer be the same. We want to introduce a new currency in the world. Secondly, we want to introduce what is called the replacement of SWIFT. SWIFT payment system, international payment regime. Those of you who have been to Russia in recent days will know that if you arrive in Russia, your card won't work because Russia is under sanctions. You swipe, it won't work. You end up in the port of your transit. So now, because of what was perceived as US dominance in the world, BRICS had to enlarge itself so that you bring in many other countries that have got power, that have got economic base and a social base. Because initially, we used to have IBSA, India, Brazil, South Africa Alliance, and we used to have BRIC, which was Russia, India, China. But collapsed these two platforms, and we ended up with BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But because the USA has established a very strong bureaucracy militarily, politically, socially, and economically in the world. You needed to bring more actors to create an alternative power in the world. Then in that way, the BRICS was expanded to class, meaning that you had to add Argentina. But Argentina then went out of the BRICS because the government that won in Argentina is a conservative government that is aligned to conservatives and to both conservatives and liberals in the US. And I mean both to the Democrats and the Republicans. And the USA sees BRICS as a threat to their hegemony in the world. So Argentina pulled out. So we have a similar situation when Brazil was not led by President Lula da Silva. When a mob from the favelas was funded highly by the Bretton Woods institution, put a president, and Brazil stopped being active in the BRICS. So it shows that the BRICS is also a fragile formation. Ourselves, after our 2017 conference, the Chinese were worried, and the Russians, are you still going to be close with us in the BRICS? Because they saw Zuma as the closest one, and they were not sure about our current president, if he will kowtow to the instructions of the Washington consensus of the US and all that. To their surprise, he became a formidable voice within the BRICS. So we included Ethiopia in the BRICS and Egypt. And the problem is that there is a looming war between the two countries because Somaliland has signed a MOU with Ethiopia to use the port of Berbera for their economic zone. Somalia is very angry because it does not consider Somaliland as a country. It considers it as their province. So they have mobilized Egypt to be on their side. Ethiopia has mobilized Somaliland together with Djibouti to start the war and fight each other. So the developing wars in the world are affecting virtually every continent in the world, from Ukraine, Russia, the situation in the Middle East, Israel, Iran, Lebanon, China, Taiwan. And this one is going to be the biggest one because the USA has put a lot of money into and resources in Taiwan. The USA, like all of us in the world, also support one China only policy, but their relationship with Taiwan is stronger. They call their policy with a different name. They call it strategic ambiguity so that they can accommodate Taiwan. So we have all this type of realignments. But then I want to start from the high level to the elemental. Now that we have dealt with we've dispensed with the politics of BRICS and regional political alignment, what is the role of business in the situation? And especially of business people from South Africa. South Africa has become an increasingly very powerful country in the world, irrespective of how we are seen because of the stories that are propelled by our media. We are known to be a very xenophobic country. We are no longer welcomed even in the continent the way we used to be welcomed. When we go to some of the countries from South Africa, they said, oh, hey, these are the ones. But in the system of world power, we're in charge as a country. We are now the president of the G20. Many people don't even know that the G20 is bigger than Soccer World Cup, FIFA, the one we had in 2010. And we are hosting the BRICS, the G20 next year in South Africa. So I'm inextricably interweaving the BRICS and the G20 because they coalesce for business people. So there will be a lot of activity and a lot of business activity in South Africa next year as we are going to host the G20. So every company must now be alert. Bilateral and binational agreements must be studied. I will be sharing several binational agreements with them, and is to share with the collective. But we will also be advantaging you with some of the inputs which we discuss at the level of the Secretariat of the G20. So there's basically going to be a lot of opportunities for every industry when we host the G20. Because this hosting of us on the G20 propels also the agenda of BRICS, which we are seen to be the champions of. Because although we added Egypt and Ethiopia, but we are still seen as a country that represents the whole continent into the multilateral regional economic alignment as South Africa. So in terms of the G20, there will be a business for a platform where we want to advantage the inner circle, but there are also other associations of business in South Africa like Booster, like the Black Business Council, and many other side shows. But G20 is big. Every single one of you here at their company must emerge, must guide what must happen. Because the businesses, whether they're in mining, whether they're in agriculture, knowledge economy, and digital transformation, they will all be in South Africa looking for partners. And these are the people from very developed countries, very rich nations. So we want South African business people not to go on a number mode, to be the ones that start identifying, deposit information to the Secretariat of the G20, organize with the BRICS as well, so that when this thing happens, you change our country for the better. Already, the president of South Africa has announced a number of initiatives, including smart cities and new economy for our country. The G20 is coming to South Africa to enable our plans to happen. One of the topical issues that will be taking place in the G20 will be the whole issue of white balling, or what is called a high finance. Okay, we've got so much money in this country that people plug into the system, but the Reserve Bank keeps on hamstringing it from being used. Or the banks trap it and then they frustrate you for 20 years and all that. So G20 presents an opportunity to unlock that. South Africa must develop advanced systems. The reason the Reserve Bank frustrates those people with all that money is because the money tends to be above our GDP and how we want to operationalize our economy. So it outweighs and it creates negative standard. That's why credit listing organizations like Moody's and so on always have findings against us. So the G20's presence unlocks at any other money that comes into South Africa, at any other business. So South Africa can change in 5 years after this G20 to be the best country. And every one of these business people that are gathered here would find themselves increasing the number of billionaires in South Africa if we mastermind our participation in the G20 with mathematical precision. So I just wanted to, because of the limited time that I have, to just openly discuss with you like that. And so we are availing ourselves to the inner circle because we're told that this is a networking session. So we are basically here to network and drink. And the rest of the things will take care of themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I just have a few questions for you. Yes, we are celebrating being part of BRICS setup. We are also celebrating part of the largest customs union in the world, right? The African continent. But there's a few worrying statistics. Africa, with a population of 1.4 billion, who are exporting to the rest of the world. Just by way of numbers, China is the world's biggest exporter at 3.02 trillion, followed by US at $2.3 trillion, by the way. Then you have Japan with a population of 123 million citizens, right? Its contribution to the global exports is sitting at $770 billion, and Africa does not even feature there. So what can we do to ensure that as we talk of BRICS Plus, we talk of introducing Africans to new markets, we talk of Africans participating in AGOA, what can we do to ensure that local entrepreneurs, when I talk local, I'm talking the entire African continent, how do they benefit from this? Because we all know that they are still facing challenges of infrastructure, right? Somewhere in Africa, there is no road to move products from an agricultural farm to the port. Somewhere in Africa, we don't have a rail infrastructure to move goods from Durban to Zambia. How do we address all of this?
I think this is the question that all of us need to answer, because these are the problems that are confronting us as a nation collectively. And personally, I won't have answers to all the economic political problems. Although in my other job, I'm an advisor, political advisor of the MEC of Economic Development and Finance in this province. So all I will have to do is just to attend in this particular engagement. You know, there was a team of South Africans that went to Morocco last week. I don't know if some of you were there. It was a Qatar Morocco Business Summit. And Morocco has got a high-speed train. They've developed their infrastructure. They are hosting the AFCON next year. They are building a lot of hotels. The biggest insurance company, the richest insurance company in Morocco is owned by BRICS Mosaase. It's called Sanlam. Yeah? We have known it for years. So in Morocco, he owns it. The South African companies are wanted to plug in their experience of 2010 in Morocco. Like I saw when I was there were so many hotels that have been built. You know, AXA, the airport company of South Africa, assisted the building of airports in Brazil during the 2014 World Cup because of our experience of hosting the 2010 World Cup. But when I was going around, where is the presence of South African companies in Morocco when we are going to build this thing? And it has got also other political issues. It seems that we as a country has put all the traps for ourselves not to relate to particular countries which may have economic value for us. Whether it's Israel, Morocco, we need to have pragmatic optimism, inclusive and constructive dialogue as a country. And these are the issues that belong to high level. But people-to-people relations must happen. Go and plug yourselves into the spaces of development because the continent is about to change to the better. The same Morocco is also hosting the World Cup in 2013 as part of the Troika countries that have been identified. I think it's Spain or something. And or is it the third one? What is it? It's Morocco, Spain, and the third country. And though we are the ones with experience, so why are we not plugging into the system? Why not engaging them so that happens? Our premier of the province, Yusuf, has just announced a project to build a high-speed train from here, Pretoria or Tshwane to Polokwane. And the processes are underway. The BOTs are being signed and all that. How many of us are participating in that process? And there's a second train that's going to move from Pretoria to Convener. Where is our role in it? And then there's another train that's going to move from Johannesburg to Harrismith. Processes have started. and their construction of a lot of SEZs in Gauteng, as only because I'm speaking to business people from Gauteng. There's a Lanseria smart city that was launched by the president. It made a huge data center, and it must be a new element of a new economy. How many of us are interacting with Khomotso Letsatsi, who is the manager of that project in this particular one? There's a Vaal special economic zone. All these projects, they need us to unlock potential through the G20 process, through the BRICS process, through what we mentioned earlier, Africa Free Continental Area Agreement, which we are Secretary General to through Yamkele Mini in the continent. So we need to then say, how are we going to change our position and our information revolution? You see, there's a lot of money lying around, but the problem is information. And that's why we appreciate this platform that we've created. That through it, let's engage. Let's plug each other in systems, because what is destroying the business community in South Africa is the epidemic of disconnection. When students are fighting at vets for fee, we say, no, it's students, they are marching. As a business person, you must be able to transform that to business. And when the workers are striking on the street, you say it's the workers. So we've got that epidemic of this, but we do not want to go in and apply our science of business in those spaces so that we affect the country. For instance, last point, the new economy is digital transformation. Right? In Dubai, they've already started with Uber police cars. Although the police cars in Dubai, they will fetch with a Lamborghini, but will still go to jail. You know, Uber ambulance. You know, all these things. How many people are bringing innovation at the center of the economy? Because thinking about traditional based economy is a thing of the past. We thought that technology would destroy business. Yet the contrary is true. Uber, Bolt, and all that, they've created more jobs than taxi industry. Netflix might kill cinemas, but it has created a lot of backyard jobs. So the issue is that how do we innovate to build the economy? Because I don't want us to continue speaking about economy like that. Where are the virtual kitchens? Other countries are doing virtual kitchens. Okay, we still like to hang around like this. But there are people in other developed countries who are already saying, no, design your menu. Because here they are going to command us through their menu. Yeah, you are eating line fish and all that. But other people say, phone us, we can do it from our house, design your food, we'll drop it at your house in the world. So there are a number of tendencies that are developing in the world that our business must start. And I'm answering that to say the solution out of the problems of our country lies in innovation, digital transformation, and collectivization of society. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to release Mr. Mosaase in the next 5 or 10 minutes, but one last question. The question is around geopolitical challenges that we face with South Africa. Number one is the issue of South Africa's participation in number one. Now that Donald Trump has taken over as the United States president, I'd like us to assess South Africa's risk exposure to that. I know that it's due for renewal early next year. That's the one area I want you to look at. The other issue, we are now part of expanded BRICS. We're members, there are a few members who are exposed to US sanctions. Russia alone, right, is faced with about 16,500 sanctions, right? And we have, as part of the group, Iran. You have also, yes, correct. Now, being part of resource-rich countries, collectively been exposed to almost 50,000 sanctions. How do you see South Africa trading? How do you see South African companies exporting Russia, moving their goods from South Africa to Iran? What are the benefits of participation in these expanded groups? BRICS Summit development.
Okay, thank you. First of all, okay, let me say there was a summit last week in South Africa. It was called the 12th Global Assembly of the United States of America, champion from there. So many of you might have seen people who are criticizing it. It's a CIA thing. The National Endowment for Democracy of the USA is the secretariat of this, but it brings the most powerful organizations around the world. So it was in Sandton Convention Center. And America Theatre Foundation, they were under siege. I think the CEO is Bolton also. They were told, don't go there because you are insulting the legacy of America Theatre. Ronima Mwepa Foundation was told to pull out. Bishop Mpilo Tutu and Leah Tutu foundations were told to withdraw from that. So COSATU became the only brave organization. They went to address this thing, and the ANC went there secretly in avoiding the controversy. So I went there myself in that particular summit. It was a very high-level summit. There was the House of Representatives, 2 houses of Congress were there in the US. Senators were here as well as House of Representatives. And this issue of AGOA came in. AGOA is Opportunities and Growth Act. That's how many of our jobs are happening from the US angle, including TASES in Swahili, Swahili Special Economic Zone, Special Automotive Economic Zone. So if you see Ford Range, what, and all that, Ford, South Africa does those cars for the rest of the world. And it's happening here in Pretoria. And this is also part of the benefits of AGOA. So then there was an engagement with the US senators and congressmen about the weaponization of AGOA against our country. And they friendly says AGOA is about to reach its end of signature in 2025. But there was an appeal because it employs a lot of our people that there must be discussion on expanding AGOA. So we can no longer avoid that the politics in the USA have changed as well. Donald Trump, for instance, is not a Republican. You may want to say he's a Republican. No, he's not. Donald Trump, he could decide what to be. He just stood